Welcome to my second video on the Evans Gambit, one of the most romantic and fun gambits a chess player can play. And come on, guys, if you want to have some fun playing chess, you've got to give up the odd pawn now and again. You don't want to be a capitalist all the time, do you? You've got to give away your pawns. Give away your pawns and be a romantic. That's what I say. And this game is really going to demonstrate some of the main ideas in the Evans Gambit. So before we have a look at some of the real theory of the opening, I just want to get the main ideas you should be thinking as white when you're playing, because I think this is more important than remembering certain moves. So let's dive into the action. It's a game played here that I found not a very well-known game between, I think, two German players. I think it's played in something like 1951, but it's a really good example of white's attacking power in the Evans Gambit, and it really fits into our spicy opening range. So the Evans Gambit is an opening for when you play e4, and after e5 we go knight to f3, knight to c6, and now bishop to c4. And this kind of fits into my range of openings that I've been showing you. This has more potential to be an aggressive move than the more commonly played bishop to b5, because on c4 the bishop strikes out against black's Achilles heel, the weakness on f7. The f7 pawn is a weakness because it's only defended by the king. If you look at the other squares around the king, like e7 and d7, they're defended by at least four pieces, well, four or five pieces in some positions. So bishop c4 has potential to be a more attacking move. Now we're concentrating on bishop c5 and now b4, the start of the Evans Gambit, a real fun way to play. Now, what should black do here? Well, really, the only way to refute a gambit is by accepting it. And the only good way to accept this gambit is bishop takes b4, because this keeps hold of the e5 square. Now, what is white's idea behind this gambit? Well, it's to gain tempo. Often when you play a gambit, you've got to get something in return. Often it's a gain of time, so you can build a center, get your pieces in attacking position. Sometimes you can do positional sacrifices if you gain a very important square. And other times you can do desperation sacrifices. I tend to do a lot of them myself, unfortunately, where you have to sacrifice something, otherwise your king is going to be in serious trouble. But this is a sacrifice to gain time, to gain the initiative, to pressurize your opponent. So we gain time with c3. The bishop has to move. Bishop to a5 played, one of the two major defenses. The other major defense is bishop to e7. And now d4. And this is my suggestive way of playing against bishop to a5, just to keep pushing in the position. Now, we'll have a look at d6 in the next game. But black really should, well, he often takes on d4. This move or d6 are the main ideas. Other moves, really, they can lead him into trouble, because you're going to simply take on e5, get your pawn back with a good attack. So after taking on d4, can you remember from the first game what you should be doing here? And remember, this gambit, as I've said before, is about time. You're trying to gain time, develop quickly, get your king safe, get your pieces attacking, hit the square on f7. What should you do here? Well, I like the move castles, because this gets your king safe and it has a positional threat of now playing pawn on c3 takes d4, when you will get two strong pawns in the center, and that is just going to be very good compensation. You couldn't move that pawn before because it was pinned, so I like this move a lot. Now in this game, black played a bad move. He played bishop to b6, and now we're going to see the potential of these two central pawns. This move is just too slow. A much better move would have been knight to e7, and this is the best defensive move for black. Why is knight to f6 a mistake? I mean, you should better answer that. Remember, every time you play an opening like this, you need to think of ways to gain time and to create threats. If you haven't got an immediate way to win, you've got to create threats when you gambit. And here there's a very simple way to create a threat: pawn to e5. And this already leaves black in some difficulties here, because the knight has no good square to go to. So that's why knight to e7 is the best defensive move. And in the next game, we will look at what I think is the best way to play against this move. Just to give you a little suggestion now, it's knight to g5, a super aggressive idea. But we'll come to this in the next video. In this game, black played bishop to b6. And now just simply pawn takes d4 is a good move. Look at these really strong pawns. These strong pawns here can be used to march their way forwards. d5, e5. Here come the space invaders. They're gonna come down and kill that black king. Well, again, what should black do here? It's not easy because we have ideas of knight g5, queen b3, d5, d6, lots of attacking ideas. In the game, black tried d6, and white couldn't see an immediate way to really pressurize. So, again, one of my rules, if you can't see an immediate thing to do, just bring your pieces into the game. Which pieces are not playing? Well, the knight on b1 has a beautiful way into the game. So knight c3, simple. Now, in this game, black played knight to f6, which I consider a mistake. He should probably have tried knight to a5, at least asking the bishop where it's going to go, because that bishop is on a very strong square there. I'd probably play a move like bishop d3 here, just keeping that piece. And after knight e7, I think a very nice move here. I would call this a prophylactic attacking move. I'm trying to think what my opponent's next idea is, and I think he wants to develop this piece. He probably wants to pin my knight. So I'm just going to go h6. I'm not rushing the attack here. This is not so much about time now, rather than suffocating first and waiting for my opportunity to arise. But in the game, black played knight to f6 instead. And what should you do here? Well, now we see a very typical attacking couple of moves. And this is something I really want you to remember. And this is why I picked this game. First, e5. A beautiful way to open up the center. We want to open up the center because our king is nicely tucked away. Our opponent's king is not. But if you give it one more move, it will castle. And we don't want to allow that if we can help it. And we don't have to allow it to castle. Now, black thought he had this move covered. He took on e5. What would you play now? And this is the key idea in the Evans Gambit. If you know this idea, you'll get some lovely victories. Pause the video if you need a bit of extra time. Well, the key move here is to stop black from castling. How can you do that? Bishop to a3, and that bishop just cuts across the black king. Of course, kings can't castle through check, so that stops black from castling. Now, it's worth pointing out, bishop a3 would not be as strong if there was a black pawn still on d7, but that pawn has moved here. If there was a black pawn on d7, black would be able to go d6, and that would block the bishop out. This is no longer a possibility. Now, I really hope in this position you weren't considering pawn takes pawn. If so, shame on you. Don't want to swap the queens off when you're attacking, and this would allow exchange of queens. Maybe you still have some initiative, but come on, guys, don't swap the queens off, not when you're gambiting. We want to rock and roll with our queen. Come on. Would Morphy play like this? No. Just ask yourself that when you're gambiting. What would Morphy do? And then you'll probably sacrifice all your pieces and lose the ending. But you get my idea. Bishop a3. And, okay, well, there's a lot of options here. In the game, black played knight to a5, trying to get rid of this bishop. What other options did he have? Well, if knight takes d4, I think a good way to play this position would be knight takes knight. And these two bishops that white has are so strong. So if queen takes knight, we go queen b3. And if bishop takes knight, there's a very nice move here. Knight to b5. Keep going forwards. What would Morphy play? You're giving up your rook on a1, but after bishop takes a1, queen takes a1, you have a massive threat of queen takes pawn with a checkmating attack. And again, this bishop on a3 stops the black king from castling. All of white's pieces are attacking, and I really don't think black can survive here. After bishop a3, the game continued knight a5. But now knight takes e5, opening up the e file for a white rook to check the king. Knight takes c4, so black has got rid of that strong piece. Now, would you take that knight back, or is there a stronger move? Remember, your knight is very well placed here. Can you bring more pieces into your attack? Pause the video again if you need to. Well, queen takes a4 is a much better move because this keeps your knight on its great square. I mean, you could have played knight takes c4, but now black has some chances to defend. For example, queen takes d4, rook e1 check, and bishop e6, blocking the rook out. Okay, I still think white has a very dangerous attack here, but it's not as strong as it could be because your knight has moved away from its good central square, and you want to, you know, if you can, keep your pieces on the best attacking squares. And queen a4 check allows that to happen. Now, bishop d7 was played, and now queen takes c4. And look at the difference in this position. The knight here helps ideas of queen takes f7 checkmate. There's only one way for black to sufficiently defend against that, and that is bishop e6. Now, another key moment, again showing another key theme in the Evans Gambit. You've done a very good job of trapping your opponent's king in the center with this thematic idea of bishop a3, trapping that king there. Now, when your opponent's king is stuck in the center like this, you want to open up lines, even if you have to throw more wood on the fire. Keep that fire burning. Fire, keep it burning. So how do we keep it burning? How do we open up lines here? d5, of course. And this, even at the cost of a pawn, allows us, we don't want that d pawn. We'd rather that d pawn was not there, because then we have a rook coming to d1 with even more firepower. So just give the pawn away. A very, very nice attacking move. Another thematic idea. Of course, a move like this would not be as powerful. Probably wouldn't work if black was castled, but black is not castled. In the game, black played bishop takes d5. If knight takes d5, we can simply go rook a d1. And after something like c6, knight takes d5. And here, well, black is in all sorts of problems. If bishop takes d5, the retreat, queen e2, the only retreating move, is going to be the end of the game for black. Because there's no way for black to stop a knight jump with a great ambush on the black king. It's impossible to stop that. So in the game, if we go back a couple of moves, black tried bishop takes d5, but now queen a4 check. c6 was played, and now we see why white has got rid of the d pawn. Rook a d1, increasing the pressure. I love the harmony of the white pieces. They're all playing ball together here, you know. It's like a brilliant football team. They're passing the ball around. They're getting ready to score. This is what the white pieces are doing. They're coordinating so well. And here, black tried knight d7. He still, of course, cannot castle because of the killing bishop on a3. This is the key theme. And now, very simple solution to this. Knight takes d7. Queen takes d7, knight takes d5, pawn takes d5. And the last question for you guys here, it may look like there's a lot of pieces being exchanged, so it might not be easy to win this position. But what is the winning move here? And after white's next move, which is a really brilliant finish, black only had one good thing to do, and that was to resign. So pause the video now if you need to work out what that move is. It's a really nice move. I mean, remember, your queen is attacked, but more importantly, can we checkmate the black king? Well, the winning move here is the fantastic rook takes d5. And this allows your queen to be captured. In actual fact, black resigned here because he saw that the only option really is queen takes queen. You can't take the rook because it's pinned. You can't allow your queen to be captured. And after queen takes queen, it's going to be checkmate very shortly because of rook e1 check. And again, this bishop on a3 is the hero of the game. And okay, black can block the check a couple of times, but it's going to lead to checkmate. So this rook takes d5 is a beautiful way to finish the game. Now, you may have been thinking rook to e1 check, but in actual fact, black can fight on here with king d8. You're allowing him to escape. So even in these positions where you have brilliant attacking moves and a brilliant initiative, you have to be so accurate. You have to really not let your foot off the gas until your opponent has resigned. Anyway, I think that was a great game from Layman, and I hope that's given you some good ideas about how to play the Evans Gambit. And please do finish all the videos I've got on this, because I'm going to try to give you, a good solid basis for an opening here. And in the next video, we're going to look at a bit more theory side of it. So the ideas you need to really kind of remember in order to play this. So far, we looked at the main theme. So I hope you enjoyed that video, and make sure you watch the other ones. Cheers for now. Goodbye.